Welcome to Mindboost Moments, a podcast for those who want to hear from like-minded people and how they're making a dent in the world. So join me on my continued journey of learning and discovery. In this episode, I had such a fun chat with Nik Brown, who's the head of sales and partnerships at IAM. We had a conversation about learning and engagement, flexible working, and the power of humanity, which led us to an honest conversation about crafting great learning experiences, creating memorable moments, and making learning relatable. We also explored Nik's superpower of solving puzzles and problems. This is Mindboost Moments.
My name is Nik Brown. I am the head of sales and partnerships for IAM Learning. And if people aren't aware who we are, we create micro learning in animated format, very unique, different kind of style, and our whole ethos is making learning fun. The reason I'm mentioning that is simply because it's one of the reasons I'm at the business. I've worked in L&D for, how old's my daughter? 10 years now I've been in L&D, and I've kind of done the rounds, if you like. I've done the LMS side, I've done content intelligence, I've done the content marketplace piece, and I've kind of seen all the different struggles people have within the L&D space in terms of buying and understanding what's going to work for them and all that kind of jazz. And fun is probably the one that I think most people struggle with, and I am kind of tick that box for me. So yeah, here I am.
And how I'm going to pick on that straight away in terms of fun. So I tend to think about businesses in the digital learning space as not competitors, but they're partners in a similar space.
Absolutely.
Whether we're working together or not, we're in that ecosystem, and so we're working alongside each other. And in Mindboost, we're of the same. So we bring magic. We bring content to life with the language you use and the design that we use. Yeah. And how often is it that you work with a client that goes, we're not bothered in this fun stuff, we just want to get the point across?
You know what? That's an interesting one. So I think that used to be the case, but when it comes down to it, all any client really wants is engagement from their learners, right? So they want their learners to basically interact with the content that they've spent their hard-earned budget on, right? Now, if it's not fun, and it's not engaging, and all the other buzzwords that you might like to throw around that, then the engagement just doesn't really happen unless it's kind of mandatory. You've got to do this, it's compliance, and if you don't do it, blah, blah, blah. But when you've bought a suite of content and outside of the compliance piece, you need people to kind of pick up the training off their own steam and all that kind of stuff. It needs to have something about it that's going to draw people in, right? So we do have people who go, oh, well, it just needs to do X, Y, and Z. But actually, no, what it needs to do is have people viewing it, completing it, and hitting those metrics that you've got as your markers as a head of L&D within your business, right? So from my perspective, I've always looked at it as, how do you kind of manage that process, and what is it that drives people to go in and pick up the learning and all that kind of stuff? And to me, it's got to be fun. Nobody wants to sit there clicking on a button and having the screen speak to them, and then click again and then have the screen speak to them and all that kind of stuff for an hour. We're all really, really busy nowadays, and B, we're all working from home remotely and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know about you, but now that we do that, there's less time in the day, right? It used to be you go to the office and go home, and then you know what hours are yours, and now that's not so much the case. So utilizing that time is probably more kind of precious now than ever before.
Well, I often have a conversation. It's amazing how the world has shifted over the last 4 years and acceptance of working anywhere. But, I saw an article, I think it was yesterday or today, going, Brits at work from home are taking siestas that now the business is paying for. I'm like, and I nearly responded to it and said, is this just clickbait? Because of course people have a rest, right? So the word siesta implies they're taking 3 hours break in the afternoon. The reality is, because you're in control of your environment and your time, you go, of course I'm going to take a break whenever I want. And if that break means a sleep, because I haven't got, 20 people in an office staring at me, falling asleep at the desk, then so be it. And then I thought, I really wanted to reply to it, and I sort of held myself back. And then I also thought, like, surely to God we've moved on, haven't we? Like, you're like, surely people are intelligent enough to go, okay, I'm burning out a little bit. I need a bit of a rest so I can be productive.
Absolutely.
And actually, don't you measure me on what I've achieved rather than when I've done it?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a weird kind of mentality to work where if you're not at your desk, then you're not working. But actually, look, the outcome's being achieved. Are you getting what I'm being paid to do?
Yeah.
That's the ultimate piece that you should be kind of relying on. Not, oh, well, you didn't log in at 1 minute to 9 and you were here at 7 minutes. I was like, but I was online last night responding to your Slack message at 10:30. Like, there's no.
I know. So the other choice is everyone works in the office, but you don't get full engagement from everyone because they're just sitting there trying to burn the time away and going, I can't wait to get out of it because everyone's watching me. And that's the flip side of it, isn't it?
Exactly. Not only that, but if you're in the office, right, and I see this myself when I go into the office, when you get there, the first thing you do, you go and get yourself a cup of coffee. Then you go and chat to somebody and say, oh, how you doing? I haven't spoken to you for ages. That's half an hour gone. Then you go speak to somebody else and there's another 10, 15 minutes gone. And then somebody else pipe up and then the whole office is involved in the conversation. Then suddenly, you're 2 hours in, you've done nothing. Now,
but that's life, isn't it? That's work. Because, so where people aren't, the people that are saying that's not work are probably living in an outdated mentality, back in the Victorian ages of going, oh, you've got to be productive 100% of the time. And this is why we're at a point, a crossroad in the world to go, we're worried about AI because AI is going to take our jobs, right? So what I keep saying to everyone is the thing that's going to save humanity is the ability to engage with other humans. Absolutely. And yet over the last 150 years, you've eradicated that out because you don't think that's productive time.
You absolutely spot on. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. As you say, the thing that will stop kind of the AI evolution, revolution, or however you want to position it is humanity, right? Ultimately, AI can't have the conversation me and you are having now, can it? It's not going to derive any.
Well, it can't have a random conversation. It'd be too logical, wouldn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So suddenly it's like, well, actually,
it does not compute, Nick.
See, you missed the trick there. Surely it was computer says no, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's been copyrighted somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Whoops, sorry. You can cut that if you need to, I guess.
So, but again, back to the original point about engagement. We have sort of spoke to businesses that have said, we just need to present the information, and then like how. But to your point, how do you get the best out of people? Because we always say like everything is an emotion. So everything you do stimulates a response and an emotion in someone. And so we led with that at LPI, definitely. We said learning with feeling. The amount of people that said, just explain this learning with feeling for me. We said, well, it's a bit like the soap drama that you might watch every week. What compels you to watch it? I love the characters. I love the storyline. Exactly. Well, why wouldn't you have that in your learning then? Because essentially it's a soap drama that's playing out and we want to get you invested in that. So whether that's visual or the language, it's about creating emotion, making it fun, making it, relatable, because everything that you're trying to do, you're trying to create those micro memories, aren't you? That go, oh, I know what I've got to do.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. And you're right. It's the storyline and the relatability that makes everything tick, right? Even the best orators in the world, whenever they're telling the story, be it a comedian, be a serious storyteller, whoever they are, they create relatability in their story. So you can picture yourself, you can picture the concept and understand how it works. If you don't have that, I don't understand how you get engagement. It's not possible, right?
No. I love the connection with a comedian as well, because how many times have you watched the comedian, you sit there chuckling and going, oh yeah, I know that. That's John down the pub, that is.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, that's it. Every story has to have relatability, and and once you start incorporating that into learning, it kind of encourages people to be their own person and go, oh, actually, I really tick the box for me. I wonder what else there is about the thing that I actually like and the thing that kind of drives me. You have, obviously, we'll go on to it in a little while, but the kind of piece about what kind of makes you tick, that needs to be a question that's asked of everybody. And what is the thing that you want to learn? What's the thing that piques your interest? And how are you going to learn about that and expand your knowledge base around that piece?
I know, but and if you're not enjoying that, then that's immediately where you turn it off, and that's where I think, some people in organisations, that's where they sort of forget the purpose of learning. And it's not even learning, it's about encouraging people, or getting the best out of people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you wouldn't have a conversation, would you, in a meeting and just sort of showed a PowerPoint slide with just bullet lists in it and go, there you go, read that, because that's what you got to do.
Exactly.
Because most people are going, what the hell? You go, all right, what we got to do then? How are we going to work together?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing. People kind of, they see it as a box ticking exercise sometimes, and it's not. It's like, as you said, your analogy is perfect. Like you wouldn't turn up with just a slide and go, here you go, read this, because the meeting would be like, can you imagine your boss if you did that and your boss looks, you're supposed to be doing a presentation here. Can you see me afterwards, please?
I'm just imagining all the transactional people, all the sort of process driven people that might be listening to this going, that's exactly how I run a meeting.
To all those people, I'm sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, maybe I'm just thinking, I'm just reflecting. That was every teacher that I had, which is why, sorry to my teachers, because I was a naughty kid that just could not concentrate.
Oh, you're not alone. You're not alone at all, honestly, yeah. The amount of times you'd be sat in class and like, well, okay, today we're going to, here we go again. If you got the pen thing that we can flick around at each other,
yeah. I know, let's make this practical. Come on.
Yeah. Yes. No.
But that's no different, is it, from childhood through to adult in work? It's like, how do we enthuse people? How do we get them excited about something? And how do you simplify something that you get a person going from I didn't know to, oh my God, tell me more.
Exactly right. It's funny you say that about the childhood piece. I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. And we were talking about parenting, and obviously it kind of led to how involved are you in terms of making sure that they're learning what they need to learn and kind of getting them to where they need to be. And the synergy between that and the L&D space is so close, it's so mirrored. If you've got to kind of engage their enthusiasm and their wonder, if you like, and kind of present stuff to them, makes them think and go, actually, I hadn't thought about that before. And then they can go away and explore it, right? And I think, as I say, the parenthood piece with the children and kind of the learners, and I'm not calling learners children before anybody gets upset in this conversation, but it's about kind of keeping that wonder and kind of that enthusiasm to kind of learn more things and kind of bring more knowledge in and retain that knowledge as well when it comes down to it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're anything like me, from your own experience that there is wonder and curiosity. You will learn about anything because, you spend 2 minutes on YouTube and before you know it, you're going down a rabbit hole about all manner of stuff. And then you come off there and go to your partner. I never knew that. And they'll go, that's a bit random, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, but I was really engaged to learn it.
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. And to be honest, that's something that I think the L&D industry could really learn from is the up next piece that YouTube is fantastic at, just kind of throw you down that rabbit hole of different topics that are aligned to kind of what you were learning, but actually they're slightly different topics, but they just pique your interest based on your previous topics. I think that's where everything should be headed towards, really.
You've just made me think there as well. I've never had a client yet that said, at the end of that GDPR training, can we automatically play them something about making safe transactions on their, on their cards or whatever. And I can only imagine if we turned around and said, you know what, if they start this piece of learning and then we'll automatically show them the next bit, most clients would go, are you joking? We're trying to cut down on learning time, not promote it anymore. But YouTube has got the absolute opposite philosophy of learning.
Yep. And then suddenly people are on YouTube for hours and hours and hours and hours. And you're like, it's 3 a.m. I need to go to bed. Like, yeah, I've just watched this guy build a mud hut in the middle of the Amazon, but that was amazing. Yeah. So,
but then what we'll hear, a bit like this Siesta, we'll have a news article that says employees are wasting hours of their time on YouTube learning.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Man.
Yes, yeah. It is bizarre the way that, and I always wonder how. I don't know about yourself, but within the over the last year within the L&D space, I've seen a dramatic cut in spend, if I'm being completely honest. And that everybody I've spoken to, and as I say, I've bounced around a few different companies in the industry, and I'm still in touch with loads of different people, and they've all had similar tales to tell. And it's weird how companies, their first remit to cut tends to be on the L&D side, right? That's a project we don't necessarily need, but you want your people to be engaged and upskilled and all those other fancy buzzwords that are kind of thrown around in the industry, and companies know that they need to do it. But yet, when it comes down to it, and as in line with kind of the stories that you're talking about and people not being engaged with whatever they need to be doing is not productive and all that kind of stuff. But in real terms, those bits are what generates the productivity, right?
Yeah. Why? Again, I'm just thinking out loud here. So instead of a business arbitrarily, if that's the word,
So, yeah,
just cutting down budgets, right on the post-it note, if you got any feedback for how I pronounce anything. But like rather than cut down the budget for spending, why don't L&D teams set out a challenge to partners like ourselves to go, we're not going to cut the budget, but what we do want is improved impact. And you go, okay, work with me, and then we can get that impact back with you.
That's a question for them. Unfortunately, I would love that to be the case, because I feel quite comfortable in what I do and what I know within the industry to be able to help, as yourself and many, many, many others that I know in the industry would be able to provide that kind of expertise and help from that perspective. But that's never the question that gets asked, is it? It's always about bottom line and the almighty dollar and all that kind of stuff, instead of actually what are we trying to achieve from this and how do we achieve it? Yeah, it's about how much it costing and how much could we save. Yeah, it's a weird dynamic.
And that's only going to be a battle for the lowest, isn't it? And it's never going to look good.
No, exactly. And as I say, you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah. But if you set that challenge out to any partner to say, here's our budget, but what we're really looking for is, double the amount of impact, how many organizations would, go out their way to go, my God, we've got an opportunity here. Let's chuck everything at it.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Because unfortunately, we never get that level, or very rarely. I would actually never's probably not fair, but very rarely get that level of conversation where we can say, actually, we can do X, Y, and Z with you. Let's make this work for you instead of the other way around. But it's almost an afterthought, unfortunately, sometimes, and it's something that ideally that we as an industry can potentially impact some change upon and kind of get people seeing it the way that it should be rather than the way that it currently is in a lot of places.
Yeah, I think so. I think by that shared conversation, because again, if you put it into sort of layman's, like if you went out to, a decent place to eat and they said, I'm really sorry, but I'm just thinking of the coffee, like for instance, if they say, I'm really sorry, but we can't serve you, this nice coffee that you used to have. We've now got instant, and that's because our budgets have been cut. You go, what the hell are you talking about? I'm paying for a service here.
Yes.
What? I want the best.
Very good point.
Okay, yeah, well, that comes at a cost.
Yeah, but you go in knowing what you want, right? So you're already preemptively going, right, well, I know it's going to cost X. So yeah, it's as I say, it is that mindset piece, isn't it? So as I say, we're just going to keep fighting the good fight, and hopefully we can all impact it and make that little bit of change.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I mean, so I set you a couple of
You
questions
did.
before we started the poddy, and the first one that I set you was, what excites you and makes you fizz with energy each day? So what is it that, at night, Nick goes, I can't wait.
You know what? That's a great question, and I'll be honest. I tried to think about this in great detail, and the answer that I always come back to is problem solving. Be that for myself or for others. Obviously, I work in sales, and I'm head of partnerships. And sales, people always think is about, oh, I need to just sell something. It's not. It's understanding what somebody's problem is and how can you fix it for them.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. So
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and I do, and this is really sad, but the first thing I do when I wake up is I do the New York Times mini crossword. It takes about a minute, but it's a puzzle. So I want to get it done. And then I'll do the Microsoft Solitaire challenge for the day. And then that's me done. That's how I start my day. It gets my brain firing, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm good to go. I can start with my day now. But I view sales in the same format. It's a puzzle, and ultimately, it's interesting because I think you're of the same mindset. The reason I say that is I see the Yoda Lego man in the background, which I have myself somewhere knocking about, and it's puzzles. I love them. I love the challenge of trying to solve. How do I go from A to B in the most simplistic manner possible? Or do I need to navigate particular steps to get to B? Or how do I help you get from A to B and solve the challenge that you have? So that's my thing. I'm a puzzle fan, if you like, problem solver.
Puzzle solver.
Yeah.
I think there's a job title there, isn't there? 'Cause I'm not really one for like formal job titles, but that I always introduce myself as a digital learning geek, and most people go, "Oh, that's a cool." But I'm just thinking, what's even cooler is puzzle solver.
Yeah. I don't know what that would pay, but being honest with you.
You wouldn't get any more.
No. That might be one that probably gets his budget slashed first out of everything, if I'm being honest with you. Oh dear, yeah, but yeah. So that's my thing.
So what was the last time that you had a puzzle that you couldn't solve, or that you needed to lean into other people?
Question that I couldn't solve off the top of my head. I can't think of one. And that's not me saying that I solve every puzzle I encounter. As much as I would love that to be true, off the top of my head, I cannot think of one. I'm gonna spend the next couple of minutes thinking about it whilst we carry on talking. Let's come back to that one.
Do you know what I find? And again, this sort of leans into this siesta scenario. So we are busy being productive, and big organizations have driven their workforce to be as productive as they can be. But what a lot of organizations and people fail to sort of recognize is you need that space and that time to stop everything.
Absolutely.
And that's when the ideas come to you. And I find my most productive time when I'm trying to solve puzzles as well. So you've got that irritating thing that you cannot work out in the flow of work. It will come to me in the morning, and that's usually because your brain is relaxed at night and something comes to you. And like, even if it disturbs your sleep, it just it's come to you. And you have to scribble it down or try and remember it in the night. But that's because our brains are relaxed, and you go, "Oh, I'm thinking freely now."
Absolutely, yeah. So I write quite a lot of kind of short stories, and I always seem to pick up my idea for the story as I'm trying to fall asleep. It always seems to be the way. You're right. It's when you're not focused on anything other than the objective of sleep, right? So then your brain's like, have you thought about this? And then suddenly you're up at 2 o'clock going, oh, I need to write it down. Yeah, as you say. So yeah, it's an interesting, it's weird how your brain kind of works like that, isn't it? And
it just needs to be in a relaxed state. Red wine has a similar effect as well.
I think I tend to find that the ideas aren't as joined up when the wine's involved.
They're more random.
Just a touch. Then you written it down. You're like, that. What did I actually write there? Yeah.
I tell you what, I can get away with that excuse though, because I'm left-handed. So any left-handers out there, they'll know the problem with just writing something and then just smudging the whole thing with the left hand and going, I've no idea what I've just written.
Unfortunately, I don't have that excuse. I'd love to say that I've got that excuse.
That's why I got into digital learning. I got fed up with smudging everything when I was writing it, saying that using a keyboard
It's
and
a
mouse now.
sensible solution. I like it. Yeah.
I I love a puzzle solver though. On the other question I asked you was, well, what do you think your superpower is, or what do you think the people around you think your superpower is?
It's the same thing. It's the puzzle solving, but more from an empathetic perspective. So I tend to find people come to me with, "Oh, I've got a problem, and can you help?" And it's weird. It happens in my personal life as well as kind of working life. It's just one. I must have one of those faces, mate, where people just feel like they can chat to me about random stuff. And yeah, it just seems to be that actually people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I hadn't thought about that." Again, I just try and simplify as much as I can in life, and that goes for absolutely everything. So, as far as I'm concerned, if there's an easier way to do it, and it probably stems from that schoolhood thing that we were talking about, is what's the easiest way I can get out of doing this work without having to do too much of it?
Yeah,
And kind of take that approach to pretty much every the conversations that I have, people that I kind of engage with, and all that kind of stuff. And I think most people who know me, who might potentially see this, would go, actually, yeah, that's probably a fair assessment. Empathy and puzzle solving for other people, problem solving would probably be a better way of putting this one. So let's remove the puzzle element and probably put it down more to what challenges are they facing and how can I help them?
and what do you think the key element of that solving people's problem is? Because it's not just the smile and the and the happy face that you've got. There's something else going on there that means people want to approach you.
Yeah, I think I listen well. And again, I work in sales, and I think that's a skill that you have to have. You need to be able to listen and understand what it is someone's trying to say to you. Because I find that there's a lot of times when people have a problem, they'll never tell you directly. They'll skirt around it. You've got to kind of read between the lines to spot what the actual issue is. And that goes for both business and kind of personal relationships as well. They'll always indirectly tell you exactly what it is they're thinking. I mean, you talk to the other half and stuff like that, and what's wrong? Nothing. Yeah, I know something's wrong, and you're like, oh, okay, well, what is it? What?
Yeah.
And then you're, okay, yeah, I've got it. This is the actual issue. You've not actually said it, but I've got it. I understand where I've messed up somehow. But yeah, I've got it. I understand that, and we can kind of go down that route. And I think most people are the same, and I'd probably say I do the same as well. You don't necessarily want to blurt out exactly what it is that's bugging you, but you'll kind of go, well, there's this thing, and you'll never kind of explicitly go out and say, actually, this is really bothering me, and actually kind of be kind of blunt and forthright about it, but you'll kind of hint at it, which is being able to pick up on the hints is probably where my strength lies.
Yeah, I think there's always two elements in there to listening. So it's listening to the language that's being said, but also listening to the actions that are being said as well. Because, like, you're right, when people say, "No, I'm fine," yeah, okay, you say you're fine, but your body is saying something completely different, and the tonality of that is saying something completely different.
Exactly that, yeah. And then, as you say, you kind of start digging a little deeper, and then suddenly you're like, okay, well, I've got to the first layer of it, and I understand that that's the actual issue. But what about that issue is the problem? And so you're right. And I always wonder, and this is something that's always kind of popped into my head, is in the US, for example, they're very quite open about going to therapy and speaking about their problems and all that kind of stuff. We don't do that over here. But the British thing is to just, nope, I'm fine. I can deal with this. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But actually, the way we deem our therapy is, we'll have a cup of tea. And when I say the cup of tea, this is kind of back in the 80s when I was younger and all that kind of stuff. But it was, come around and we'll have a natter, and that natter will kind of be the precursor. And I think people do it slightly now, but it's obviously more WhatsApp or texting or whatever the case might be, or Slack.
Yeah.
And it's still the same premise, but just not, again, it's just not that overt level that I think we could probably lean into a little more over here, I think.
I agree, actually. And I did the podcast with Sean Marks, who's one of the L&D managers of Back to Story. And he's really open about, he went to therapy during COVID, and he said, it was the best thing that I ever did. He said, and I would advise anyone to do some therapy and just to, talk to someone about stuff. And I know myself that I connected with a business coach a little while ago, and like, although that, you know, you wouldn't class it as therapy, it was a way to start just getting stuff off of my mind and articulating what I was thinking and my ideas, and having the opportunity to, you know, to speak to someone about those and to get a challenge back as well.
Yeah.
So I agree. What I would say though is like those cup of tea moments are vitally important, but the cup of tea is the vehicle. Actually, as long as you're listening to someone and as you say, being really empathetic around that and wanting to help someone rather than wanting a cup of tea with that person, then that's the most important thing, isn't
Agreed.
it?
Yeah, absolutely right. It's interesting you mentioned the coaching bit there, because I've kind of got a coach through work at the moment, and I had a session with him on Friday just gone. He said, "You're really hard to coach because you don't really open up, and I don't know where I can help you." And I was like, "You don't really understand that you're already helping me by just being a sounding board. Like it's really useful just to sometimes sense check what's already in your head and just say it verbally rather than just have it rattling around in your brain. That in itself is really helpful. So, you know, just being able to verbalize your thought processes rather than just constantly having it as a mental piece. It's really helpful.
And that's you know, I don't know, but that might be a new relationship, because if that's the first coaching session you've had, you're not gonna open up straight away, are you? Can you imagine meeting someone on a date and going, right, well, do you want to marry me? We're going to have kids. You go, whoa, just slow things down, will you?
Somebody's not been watching Married at First Sight, have they?
No, I'm not on board with that at all. It's like that's happening way too fast.
Can't be doing my screen.
It was on once in the background. I've loved our chat.
It's been
great.
You know,
I got one thing for you. I don't know how this is going to go.
Go for it.
I bought these the other week.
Lovely. Go on. You've got to have to read one out now.
I bought them and I thought that might go well or go horribly wrong on a podcast. So are you ready for a dad joke?
My first question is my objective not to laugh, or do I just go with my natural inclination?
I don't know. Just go with your natural. I've never done this before, so this will be fun, won't it?
Go for it.
Right. Why don't you ever see an elephant hiding in a tree?
I don't know.
Because they're really good at it.
Wow. I'm actually,
I mean, that is bad, isn't it?
You know, I'm not going to lie. I'm literally, as soon as this call's over, I'm going to share that joke with my daughter, and she's going to groan, but I don't care. It's worth every second of it. Thank you for that one.
Well, there you go. I'm giving you a gift there. Hey, I've absolutely loved our chat.
Good stuff. Me too.
If people want to find out a little bit more about what you do, what you're doing at I Am, what's the best way of getting hold of you?
Jump on the website first and foremost. It'd be, you know what, this is really bad, but I'd go with iamlearningcontent.com. Have a look at what we're about. If you want to get in touch with me, you know, just have me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect, always happy to have a conversation. Note the spelling is not Nick, it's Nik Brown, and that's done on purpose because there's so many Nik Browns on LinkedIn. It's ridiculous. So hopefully you find me and feel free to connect.
Fabulous. Thank you so much,
You're
Nick.
welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure, Caleb. Thanks for having me on, buddy. And hopefully we'll catch up again soon. And just don't give me the event lurgy, mate. We'll be all good.
This has been Mind Boost Moments. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. And if you want to learn how Mind Boost can really add feeling and emotion to learning experiences within your business, check out our website at mindboostlearning.com.